Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of Rosetta Reviews, and this episode is going to be a top 10 list. I was challenged by Anthony from Fever Dreamland Theater to do my top 10 favorite films, one from each of these here different genres. And while that's kind of a tall order for those of us who love movies, picking our favorite film was hard enough. Picking 10 favorite films can be pretty difficult, especially when you boil it down to individual genres. But you know what? It's a challenge, so I'm going to challenge the challenge, and here we go. So I've got my whole new entertainment system completely set up here. As you can see, I put a lot of effort into it, a lot of money, well spent. And then, as you could also understand, it's an important disclaimer here, guys, as we go into this, most of these films probably will change by the time that I've uploaded this. A few of these are standards. Some of these are like, I've loved this film for decades. That's not going to change. Some of these are like, but yeah, this is my favorite film today of that genre. So, yeah, don't whine or cry or fight or what, I don't know. Don't. So here we go. The first film that I will pick on my list. This one is, well, it was a difficult choice for me. It wasn't difficult for Anthony, but we settled on the same thing. The Shining as my horror film choice. This is an excellent film. Kubrick really knocks it out of the park with this one. It's gorgeous. There's so many hidden potential layers and depths, and it's got all kinds of people doing all kinds of goofy Alex Jones style bullshit with it and stuff, and that's just a credit to how deep that movie is. And it's good just to watch. You don't have to dig into it and think heavy. You can just turn it on and enjoy it. It's a beautiful movie. And my number one pick for animated film would be Star Chaser and the Legend of Orem. You'll probably notice as you watch this that nostalgia weighs in pretty heavily on my choices. This movie is one that I loved as a child and I love it as an adult. Even though I recognize it as having a lot of Star Wars ripoff influences in there, I really don't care. I really enjoy the crap out of this. As far as animated movies go, it's the one that I watch the most. That one and the Wizards. Close second to Wizards right there. And for action, it was not that difficult of a choice. The only difficult choice here was which genre to put this movie in. The Road Warrior. This is arguably my favorite movie of all time. I really, really like this movie a lot. As I spoke about before in one of my other videos, if I think to do it, there'll be a little button you can click to find that thing right around here somewhere. This movie hits on so many levels. It's got depth, it's got nuance, but you don't have to look at any of that. You can just watch shit get blown up, and boy, does it blow up a lot of shit gorgeously. It's such a great movie that I could spend an entire hour just telling you what a great movie it is, but instead I'll just skip on to the next movie. And for my favorite comedy of all time, that would have to be Hamburger the Motion Picture, with Dick Butkus playing a McDonald's-style drill sergeant, and Randy Brooks with her assets on display. There's more than two reasons to love this movie. And another film that I knew was going to make the cut, but I wasn't sure exactly where. In the science fiction spot, we have the original Star Wars, A New Hope, here on the Betamax original rental-only release. I love this movie. What can you say about this film that hasn't already been said? I mean, this is where it all began. And now for a genre that I'm not really too keen on, it would be westerns. I'm not really a fan of westerns. John Wayne never did it for me. A few Clint Eastwood movies are okay, but this film right here, Jesse's Girls, well, it's one of those R&R films, not like Rest and Relaxation, Something in Revenge, kind of like I Spit on Your Grave, but it predates I Spit on Your Grave, and yeah, there's a lot of jiggly bits in this one too. And if I'm going to have to pick a western, well, this is going to be the one that I pick. And for comic book films, that would have to be Tim Burton's Batman with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. Even though this one underwhelmed me a little bit back in the day when it first came out because the advertising campaign was so absurdly over the top, it's just, I love this movie. Even over Avengers and all the other new ones, it's so good. just does what it does, and again, nostalgia probably weighs in on some of these, but what do you want from me? I'm old. Shit. And for drama, since there is no musical section, I'm going to choose Pink Floyd's The Wall. It definitely falls under the drama category. And I personally think it's a work of art. Nostalgia Critic's opinion notwithstanding, I think that this is it's a masterpiece, a multimedia experience that they went out of their way to really forge something here. And granted, you can look at it nowadays and through a modern lens, parts of it seem a little bit immature, but that's because it's been over 40 years of us looking at it with this as part of pop culture. So, yeah, it laid the groundwork for a lot of this stuff. It's an amazing film, beautiful animation, really good artwork, really good nuance and subtlety, but at the same time, right in your face, kind of hammer smacking you. An enjoyable film. I very much like this movie. For my favorite adventure film, I'm going to go with Runaway Train, which I've spoken about before. This movie is another amazing film. It really is man versus machine. It's a story of two psychopaths battling it out with each other. One of them with the power of society and all of the power of the government in his hand, and the other one just sheer force of will and anger and drive, and the two of them battling it out on a runaway train in the Alaskan wilderness. I personally think this movie is an underrated gem. And for my final film on the list, which would be The Romance, I'm going to go with an unpopular choice from my generation, St. Elmo's Fire. I think that this movie is, well, I think it gets hammered at pretty hard because the kids are rich, spoiled, snobby ones, but at the same time, it hits a lot of the 80s stereotypes so well. It's just such a bunch of tropes all rolled up into one big mess. It's so 80s. It's so 80s I can't not love this movie. I like it more than Breakfast Club. And that's, saying something if you're talking about films like this. I really think this movie does a good job. A better job than a lot of people give it credit for. Those are my top 10 favorite movies, at least they are today. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch and listen. Make sure and go give Anthony a subscribe. And I'm going to be posting 7 other people down here below that I'm going to be challenging each one of them to the same kind of thing. Here, let's have your top 10 favorite movies there, guys. What you got? And I'll be tagging all of you guys and stuff so that you're all aware that you've been picked. Now, I can't seem to locate my list of you all this second, and I don't want to re-record the audio another time. So, thank you very much. Have a good evening. Bye.